Good morning students. History chapter 2. Today we will see the administrative structure of India under the British. An efficient system of civil administration and a professional, well-trained army were two of the most important features of British rule in India. The system of civil administration was set up to collect land revenue, which was the main source of income. The army fulfilled the need of the company to expand its territories and wage wars against Indian rulers. Let us explain. Once the British started annexing territories in India, they realized that they would have to enforce a proper system of administration to control the conquered regions. So, they formulated policies to govern these territories. These policies were designed to consolidate the British rule in India. The welfare of the common people was never a priority for them. Through it, the company wanted to increase its profit from trade. Another, increase the profitability of the territories it held in India and strengthen its hold over India. The British divided the territories they held in India into provinces. The day-to-day administration was carried out by four agencies. One is Civil Service for General Administration, the Army to protect the territories the British held in India, the Police to maintain law and order and ensure peace, the Judiciary to dispense justice. Now we will see the civil administration. Lord Cornwallis is generally regarded as the father of Indian civil administration. It was during his tenure as the Governor General that the structure of an independent civil service was put in place. Before his term in the office had begun, the company officials got low salaries. However, they enjoyed the freedom of making money through private trade and bribes from local rulers and traders. This practice was stopped by Cornwallis, who replaced the corrupt, disloyal, and self-seeking officials with well-educated, honest, and loyal civil servants. He also raised their salary to 5,500 per month. Let us explain. Lord Cornwallis is regarded as the father of Indian civil administration. Underline this line. In his period, 1786 to 93, the structure of an independent civil service. Actually, during this period, he established the Indian civil services because only well-trained civil servants could take up the challenge of governing the Indian territories. So Lord Cornwallis tried to make the Indian civil servants honest and efficient by increasing the salary of the officers and by fixing the rule that promotion would be on the basis of seniority. The officers were not allowed to accept presents and bribes because in the earlier time the company official they got the low salaries. Anyhow, they enjoy the freedom of making money through the private trade. So after when Cornwallis came to the power, so he stopped all these things. He tried to make the Indian civil servants honest and efficient by increasing their salaries of the officers and by fixing the rule that promotion would be on the basis of seniority. The officers were not allowed to accept presents and bribes. In 1800, then Governor General Lord Wellesley established Fort William College in Calcutta to train civil servants in local languages and customs. In 1806, a similar college, the Haileybury College. Underline this one, 1806. First 1800, the Governor General, here Governor General Lord Wellesley. Underline this one also. Lord Wellesley established Fort William College in Calcutta to train the civil servants how to do the administration. So if they want to do administration, first of all they want to know about the local languages and customs, what are the customs they are following. So in 1806, a similar college called the Haileybury College was established in England to train civil servants. From 1853, all recruits had to go through a competitive exam in order to qualify for the civil services. So in the earlier time, for civil to take care of the civil administration, the Governor General selected the civil servants. So after that establishment of these colleges, civil servant to train the civil servant, so local colleges, lot of colleges, Fort William College in Calcutta and Haileybury College in England, to train the, for what purpose these colleges started? To train the civil servants. So in from 1853 onwards, all recruits, all the civil servants had to go through a competitive exam. Through competitive exam only, these civil servants are selected. So in order to qualify the civil service. So if they want to become a civil servant, means they have to qualify the civil competitive exam for the civil service exam. So now also it is there. So the ICS Act of 1861, underline this one also, the ICS Act of 1861 established the Indian Civil Service. What is the expansion of ICS? Indian Civil Service Act of Act of 1861 established the Indian Civil Service. Now also Indian Civil Service exam also will be there. For administrative convenience, British India was divided into districts. In each district, collector to collect revenue, a magistrate to maintain law and order, and a judge to administrate justice. So in 1863, Satyendranath Tagore, the elder brother of Rabindranath Tagore, became the first Indian to successfully get through the ICS examination, Indian Civil Service examination. Next, Army. The second important pillar of the British government in India was the Army. With the help of the Army, the British defeated the Indian rulers, defended the British Empire from their foreign rivals, suppressed the internal revolts, and extend the British Empire in Asia and Africa. The East India Company army was disciplined and loyal. Soldiers were thoroughly trained in the use of the latest arms and ammunition and paid regularly also. From the 1820s, the cavalry declined in importance and the infantry became more important. Soldiers of this regiment were trained in using muskets and matchlocks. Soldiers in the company's army were mostly Indian. So most of the company's army Indians only, while the officers were exclusively British. Those who are the officers, they are Britishers. The highest position held by Indian soldiers, also called a sepoy, was that of Subedar. The officers of the army were exclusively British. In fact, no Indian soldier could rise above the rank of a Subedar. During the 19th century, the British developed a uniform military culture. Soldiers were subjected to European style of training, irrespective of caste and communities. Next, judicial system. In the beginning, the administration of justice was carried out on the basis of the traditional laws of the Indian people. In case of Hindus, the Shastras. In case of Muslims, the Sharia was the basis of justice. In 1772, a new system of justice established. Each district was to have two courts. One is criminal court, another one is civil court. Civil courts presided over by the company's collectors. Criminal courts were presided native like Wasi and Mufti, who worked under the supervision of collectors. Under the Regulating Act 1773, the Supreme Court at Calcutta was established. By the Act of 1781, it was decided that the English law would be strictly applied only in the cases of English, and the Indians would be tried under their own traditional law. So 1793, the famous Cornwallis Code was compiled for the guidance of the officers of the new judicial service. In 1833, a graded structure of courts came into being. In 1865, high courts were established at Calcutta. First, they have to establish Supreme Court in some under the Regulating Act of 1773. Supreme Court at Calcutta. After that, in 1865, High courts were established at Calcutta, Madras, and Bombay. All these presidency. The codification law. Here we need to understand what is the principle of rule of law. The codification of laws mean to establish judicial equality in the laws applied to both the rulers and the ruled. This was the principle of rule of law. Note it down. However, even though the judicial system proposed equality before law, the Europeans were tried in special courts by British judges. The civil administration, like the civil administration and the army, judiciary was an important pillar of governance introduced by the British in India. Judiciary was based on the principles of rule of the land and equality before law. According to the principle of the rule of law, at least in theory, the administration was carried out according to the laws of the land. According to the principle of equality before law, according to the principle of equality before law, everyone was equal before the law, at least in all civil cases. Independence of judiciary was another important aspect with the colonial rule introduced in India. This means that the judiciary was free from the influence of both political and civil administration. Let us recapitulation of the today class. Today we have learned about the administrative structure of India under the British civil administration, the army, and the judicial system. That's all for today class.